go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Enrique Brouwer, and I'm here as a guest of Steven Selleck's and the Electric Car Club here on campus. I taught here for 7 years in the Department of Psychology, Industrial Psychology, and Human Resources. I also taught in the Department of Foreign Languages and Cultures, and I taught cross-cultural communications. Today, we're going to talk about the responsibilities and habits of successful leaders. And we will break it down by the various tasks that leaders and managers undertake. And we will begin with decision making. Obviously, the primary task of a leader is to make decisions about personnel, people, resources, and strategies. Who makes the decisions has changed dramatically in recent years for a variety of reasons. Principally, there are two. One is digital technology and the ability for people to work remote from anywhere in the world and basically be digital nomads. And the pandemic has proven that this model of participation on a team works, and that I am of the mind and always have been that people work better independently and they don't need someone looking over their shoulder all the time. So I consider the corporate decision making in America today to be a Eurocentric, male-dominated, and archaic form of management, which is yielding, number one, to technology, number two, to the participation of minorities and women in the workforce at numbers that are unprecedented, given that they are systematically excluded from the workplace. How bad is it? Let's consider a few numbers. Fortune 500 companies. You would think that the cream of the crop would be an enlightened, pace-setting ambit within the work world. In fact, of the Fortune 500 companies, obviously, there are currently 4 women who are CEOs and 3 Black males, 1 Hispanic, and a couple of Asians. So the whole total is less than 10% or so, because it keeps going up and down. And it fluctuates between 8 and 11%, when in fact, we know that within the next 2 decades, minorities in this country will represent the majority of the population. So those two trends, again, the disbursement of the workforce in a digital world, and the inclusion, albeit minimal, but growing, of a better educated workforce generally, as well as minorities and women, is changing how decision making is done. It's becoming more and more decentralized. So I would pause at this moment and posit a question to the group, and then have time for them to ask questions on this particular thing. Given those two things that we touched upon in terms of the decision-making valleys, if you will, in terms of performance, what do you guys see as the challenges that you have as a club here in the university? Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the challenges that I see that we have as a club here at the university, lack of understanding of what we do at our club, as well as a lack of funding, diversity practices. Sometimes if our club needs something by a specific outside the deadline, then we aren't able to meet that deadline because the university processes haven't been optimized for speed. It's kind of been, they set it up one way, and that's the way that it's been for as long as time. Right? So not a lot of people are enacting to optimizing the processes. Hey, if we wanted to grow or get bigger, how would we be able to facilitate these processes to facilitate that growth?
There is on campus a major for creative and digital media, which I think may in fact be one of the forces for change on this campus. I believe that. I think Enrique Brouwer is probably one of the best professors walking this hill. And her major is one that you guys might want to connect with in terms of the possibilities of how do you manage resources in a digital way and connect in different ways. The other thing I would say to you guys is, how many women are building this fabulous electric car of yours?
We have one.
You have one.
That's our secretary, and then we have a second one, Maddie. She's our vice president.
Both engineering majors?
Emily, electrical engineering.
Great.
And Maddie is biology.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing, how many members in the club?
Currently we have 14 full-time members and about 6 part-time members. That equals up to about 20.
So you're doing no worse than the Fortune 500s. Congratulations. Good for you guys. All right. Any other questions on decision making or any other comments from the club leadership and members? Okay, let's move on. Relationships. All things that leaders do are with, for, and about others. Relationships are the currency of success. It is the one thing you cannot delegate in your life. You have to be in it, obviously. You can't delegate a relationship. I will tell you that every positive and successful leader that I know understands that they do nothing in a vacuum, that they do nothing on their own, and that their power, their influence is absolutely dependent on the relationships that they have. And relationships are, in fact, the currency for success and leadership. You have to have two things to be a good leader. One is you have to care deeply about people, number one, and you have to have a really, really short memory. Because you don't want to remember all the slights or all the times that people didn't show up or all the times that people challenged you on something. What you want to remember is the times they did show up, the times that they did well, and you reward them for that, and that's the way you build the relationship. The person that is not an ally today can be an ally on the most important decision that you make tomorrow. And you need to continue to be welcoming, and you need to be able to invest and reinvest. And we will talk when it comes to communications, which is so closely linked to relationships, that people say, but I already told them that. So what? Repetition. How do you learn? How does a child learn to walk? By falling hundreds of times. And you don't hear kids saying, well, that's not for me. They get up and they take a step and everybody claps and it's like, wonderful, wonderful. And eventually they're running around. So relationships are the very, very, very essence of leadership. They are the very essence of anything you do in life. I have a mantra, and we'll talk about the habits of leaders at the end and what you need to do to develop and have the discipline. Are leaders born or made? In my estimation, they're made. You have to have some inclination that may be genetically predisposed to lead people. But I know introverts, my spouse included, who were magnificent leaders and are magnificent leaders. that created a discipline around their actions with others and invest in relationships on a daily basis, whatever they are, friendships, work relationships, whatever they are. I have a mission statement that I try to live by. I'm not saying that I always achieve the lofty goals of my mission statement, but I do know that every day I try. And my mission statement is harmony at home, excellence at work, and service to others. And that's my true north, if you will. Harmony at home, because if relationships at home, if the people you're closest to, if there's no harmony there, your life is not in order and you can't do much. Excellence at work. In everything I do, I want to be as good as I possibly am able to, given my abilities. I would drive my wife crazy. I'd stand up and practice a lecture in front of a mirror, and she said, "You taught it for years. You're the best there is." And I'd say, well, I may not be the best, but I do stay up with it. And when I give this lecture, I want it to be the best possible lecture that Enrique Brouwer could ever give. And I gave two things: current data and a piece of my soul. And that's what you have to do. That's what you have to do in relationships. As far as service to others, the great Viktor Frankl said, happiness must not be pursued, it cannot be pursued, it must ensue. And happiness ensues from what you do for others. The only thing that matters in the end is the good that you do for others. And that comes back to relationships and leadership. Any questions, any comments from you guys?
When you talk about relationships, how do you, some people that you have I'm making a decision.
Well, we'll talk about that in communications, but you're making a linkage, Stephen, which is a good linkage to make, and that is, how do you communicate decision making, and how do relationships come into that arena, into that realm? So you're asking the right questions. And leadership is basically taking people where they either didn't want to go or didn't even envision going in any way. So there's always going to be anxiety about any journey. Even exciting, fun things create anxiety. All stressors in life aren't negative. In fact, getting married, having a child are greater stressors than some negative things like being ill or whatever, because so much energy goes into it. Your entire body is involved. So you're going to have stressed people anytime that you lead them to a place they haven't been, or they maybe don't want to go. So you're right to ponder the question and to understand the liability that a leader incurs emotionally in possibly inflicting pain on others, not meaning to, but just because of the nature of change. So truth telling, obviously, and we'll talk about that in communications, is an absolute must. It has to be ever present, and it has to be a principle and a value of what a leader does. So involving people in decision making, how long is it going to take us to get there? What do we anticipate the problems are going to be? learning from the experiences and involving people in the process, and rely on the relationships to come to a point where you say, trust me, when we get to the other side, it will be better. So that is why I call it the currency of success. It builds the bridges to the other side of current reality. And people will be stressed out in that process. So, good question. Communications. Part of relationships, and absolutely, totally, and completely a leader's every day, 80% of what a leader does is communicate. 80%, okay? Hopefully, 80% of that 80 is listen. The great Peter Drucker once said that a leader listens to confirm that which he believes to be true, and listens more intently to understand what else might also be true that he doesn't know or she doesn't know at the current moment. And then share that experience and repeat it and be consistent. I recall you were doing something, and I, not being an engineer, I don't understand all the dynamics of it, but there was a safety issue in something that you were assembling. And you did it well, but there could have been an issue, and we don't need to get into that, but I was impressed that the first thing you did was out it, bring it out and say, oops, I made a mistake and it could have been dangerous. And the other thing that you did immediately was to share it. Why did you share it? Absolutely, absolutely. And how many times have you talked about it since it happened? More than you know. So you repeat it. Say, so you've heard it. Being in contact with him, it wasn't a surprise to you that I said it. You've heard it. Repetition, consistency. If it's dangerous, I'm going to out this thing. I'm going to tell my people. Communications. Constantly. Over communicate. There is no such thing as too much communications. And that's different than public relations. Out in the community, you want the club to be perceived in a positive way. That's good. That's wonderful stuff. But the communications that are eyeball to eyeball, you can smell the people's breath. You know what these people are like. You know their best. You know their worst. You know their potential. You're invested in their growth. That is the consistency, the repetition, the relationship, the communication that has to take place constantly, constantly. A leader lives for others. A leader lives for others. A leader is in the process of donating his very best to other people. That's the essence of leadership. And if that doesn't get your blood flowing, go do something else for a living. Go sell ice cream and make people smile, or go be a dental hygienist. It's a perfectly good profession. But if you're going to lead whomever, it doesn't matter if it's engineers or teachers or whoever, whatever leadership role you're going to be in, you have to be donating a piece of yourself each day, and it has to be your very best. So, under promise and over deliver. Realistic expectations are a project's best friend. We were talking before we started the session this morning that I'm not a big believer in big BHAGs, big hairy-ass goals. That doesn't mean that I don't want my people to excel. That doesn't mean that I don't want to achieve great things. But I want it to happen in a way that is natural, that is not forced, and I don't want it to happen by walking on the broken bodies of my people. You don't achieve great goals at the expense of people, because that by definition is not a good thing to do. It's not Exactly. You cannot take advantage of people in getting somewhere. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to ask my people to take risks. That doesn't mean I'm not going to ask my people to stretch themselves, to go beyond a place where they thought they could do. But I want to start with realistic steps. I want to build the capacity for greatness, and we all have it to one degree or another. But I want to have realistic expectations, and I want the projects to be achievable, demonstrable. And we talked about the Wright brothers coax basically a flying bicycle off the ground and gingerly put it back down. It was a huge goal, but it's a goal that set a standard and has been done the same way. Now a jet engine, but that's what pilots do. You ever take a long flight? I've taken a lot of flights from New York when I was working for Xerox to Latin America, 10, 12-hour flights sometimes to Buenos Aires. And when the ship lands, everybody claps. Most important thing was landing that ship, getting it, that was it's a small step, but it's the BHAG. BHAG isn't always big, it's doing realistic things in perfect ways. Martin Luther King said, you don't have to do great things as long as you do small things greatly. It matters. It matters to do things in a realistic framework. And it's not only a project's best friend, it's a person's best friend relative to how do you feel when you're done? How do you feel when you walk out of here and say, gee, that was a successful thing that I did, sharing this dangerous thing that I did in welding the frame or whatever it was. So those are important things. Under promise and over deliver. Under promise and over deliver. It's on the leader to make the promises and get the group to deliver. And if you under promise and you over deliver, where do you want the credit to go? To the group, not to you. So you set a low bar with every expectation you're going to beat it, and you're going to push the heck out of your people in fair ways. And when you over deliver, you celebrate, set point, the bar is higher than it was yesterday. It will be higher than that tomorrow. And your people did it, you credit them for it, and then you ask them, what do we do next? And the response will come back, because they now have the confidence, at a point higher than what A was yesterday. B will be higher. If it's not, then you as a leader have done something wrong. Not the group, not the group, you. It always comes back to you as a leader. Praise liberally and say thanks. A grateful and demonstrative leader is a successful leader. I never go a day, not one day, without telling people that I appreciate them, whomever they are. And the language is different at work than it is at home. At home is I love you. At work is thank you for what you did. And sometimes I love you. I do have people from work that have become part of my daily life. Praise liberally and say thanks. People are there doing something for you, and you owe them praise and you owe them thanks, not as a manipulation to get the best out of them, but as a way of thanking them for giving you their best. It clearly ensures that them feeling appreciated will give you more. I absolutely have received more by giving than by doing anything in my life, anything else. It has to become a way of life. It has to become a way of who you are. And I'm not being Pollyannish about this. I'm not talking about, I'm skipping around throwing daisies at people and, but I'd rather be over effusive. I'd rather be thought of as, boy, this guy has got a soft heart. than otherwise. I'll take that any day. I'll take that any day. It matters greatly that you thank your people. It matters greatly that you praise them in a way that is meaningful, not in a way that isn't legitimate, but in a way sometimes, and we'll talk about this when we talk about make mistakes a learning experience. Praise them for having tried that hard. You had not done this before. Oh, by the way, the first time I did this, I, Steven Selleck, almost electrocuted myself. Okay? So it's not only praise them, but tell them what your experiences have been and the fact that you didn't do it nearly as well. So I thank you for having tried. So it didn't work. That's okay. That's okay. You're not hurt. You're fine. And by the way, you did it better than your boss did it. And the next time you'll do it just fine. So any thoughts, any comments? Praising the wrong thing. Never praise the wrong thing. Never reward bad behavior. I'm not saying praise liberally for things that people don't deserve. That's not what I'm saying. In fact, I believe in making a mistake a teaching moment, not a correction, not a punishment ever. I don't believe in punishing people. But I don't praise bad behavior. I praise behavior that may not have succeeded, but the intent was success. The intent was doing it, and they failed. So what? But I don't praise people being late. I don't praise people being disrespectful of others. I don't praise people wasting resources. I don't, there are things that are non-negotiable with me. You only get to lie once. You only get to steal once. You may or may not get a second chance. You may get fired the first time, but you never, ever get a second chance on a situation like that. And you never, ever get a second chance on safety of others that was done by you in a malicious way. So there are things that I praise people liberally and I say, thank you. I have fired hundreds of people because I have managed thousands of people. I have hired far more people than I ever fired. And I never once enjoyed firing anyone, but I never, ever regret it because I knew that I had done everything I could and they had crossed a line that put other people in danger or stole from the resources or lied to the team, which is just not a sustainable thing. You cannot do that. Is there such a thing as overpraising good behavior? Not in my book. Not in my book.
But for like not praising behavior and also one thing that I did is that they would show up.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with guidance. There's nothing wrong with showing joy. There's nothing wrong with showing disappointment. But it's not about the person. You said I was disappointed in the outcome. The outcome. You did it perfectly right. I'm disappointed in the outcome. Not you. I'm not in God's business. I'm not here to judge. That's way above my pay grade. I don't want that responsibility. If there is a God, it's up to her or him, but not to me, not up to me. I don't do that. So, but absolutely, Stephen, that's a tremendously important point. You let them know the disappointment because there was an outcome to be done. And it didn't happen because they weren't participating in that outcome by being late. They were negligent about the behavior, but it's not them as a person. You weren't judging them, you were disappointed with their action.
Yes, but they're also behind this one. Trying to as I earlier as about the how as I was back then, because documents or something or
Correct. And the other thing I would say about is always correct in private, always apologize in public. Once at work in 38 years of working in the corporate environment, I was the CEO, the CFO, I'm sorry, the CEO of Visiting Nurse Services, and I raised my voice. I raised my voice at the director of records for the company, and I did it not in a meeting. I did it in private, but within hearing shot of other people. At lunchtime, I waited when she was seated with those people because those were her team, and I said, I'm here to apologize. And she said, "You're a great boss. You've never." I said, No. I was not a great boss today. I raised my voice, and I'm here to apologize to you and to your team. I am truly, truly, truly sorry. So always apologize in public, always correct privately. So make mistakes a learning tool. Use mistakes as a coaching moment, like you did with this individual, never as a punishment for an individual. Like I said, I'm not in the God business. I don't value anyone passing judgment on me. Therefore, I don't pass judgment on other people. Mistakes are a learning tool from a lean perspective, from an engineering perspective, from a continuous improvement perspective. You cannot learn if you don't make mistakes. And as we talked earlier in communications, praise people for having tried, correct the behavior where there may have been things that would have been dangerous, so they don't do it again. Ridicule yourself if you had done the task even worse than they had, and share, hey, you think this is bad? You should have seen how the room looked when I was done with that mistake with the welding. The walls are black. And maybe even exaggerate a little bit if you have to for the moment of teaching. You're a coach. You're not a judge. I don't judge people. I coach people to better behavior. Not a lot to say on that, important as it is just really that simple. I'm not in the judgment business, I'm in the coaching business. And by the way, I'm a player coach because I'm close enough to having done it, hopefully. And one of the things I've always tried to do in my career is to stay relevant. So I can connect in a legitimate way and say, I did this. And here's what worked and here's what didn't. So, okay. Respect others always. Uphold every person's dignity, no exceptions. Twice in my career, I walked back in the building to applause from having fired somebody. One, an individual that was the #1 producer in high-end sales at Xerox, stuff that we sold to the Air Force, to Fortune 500s, huge volume printers. And this individual would routinely devastate the bullpen and make people cry and talk down to the secretaries. So I sat with her and I said, here's a book for you to read. It's not a request, it's an order. Here's someone for you to go talk to who can coach you on how to treat people. and you have 3 months. And she said to me, I'm the best you have. And I said, you are. You are. You sell more product than anybody else. But that's independent of the behavior that's acceptable to me and towards my people. You've never disrespected me. She says, no, you're the boss. I said, but it's okay to disrespect others? No, it's not. In fact, you have disrespected me because you disrespected my people. She said, I'm not doing any of that shit. I said, okay, you don't work here anymore. I took her keys, I took her badge, and I walked her out. I walked back into the building. People didn't know I was doing that, but they saw me walk her out. I came back into the building to applause. And the team said to me, don't fill her territory. Break it up to us. Guess what happened to sales? We matched with one less human resource, one less salesperson on the street. We matched her performance, and the next quarter we improved it by 10%. The other time was an individual that there was no discussion, there was no, you have so much time to make it better, because he was just disrespecting people constantly and putting people in danger. He was an operator of some equipment within a warehouse, and I walked him out because he was endangering people through his reckless behavior. And he said, but you haven't given me a warning. And I said, there is no warning given, because I'm not going to warn you after you hurt somebody and you've come this close. I've observed it. I said, and one observation is sufficient. You've been trained. You know this behavior was dangerous. You absolutely know that behavior was dangerous, and you saw it as a joke. It's not a joke for me. You could hurt one of my people. Maybe you could kill one of my people. So I walked him out to applause when I came back in the building. Did I enjoy doing it? I'll be perfectly honest with you. Out of hundreds of people I fired, those two, I didn't shed a tear. I may not have cackled, but I may have smiled internally, because they were just jerks. And I wasn't going to let them hurt one of my people. So I respect others. I did respect them. I didn't yell at them. I didn't demean them, but I told them their behavior wasn't appropriate, and I walked them out. Every other person I ever fired, I felt bad about, because who hired them? Whose mistake? Mine. Their failure was my failure. So I've always walked people out, respecting them in all circumstances. And people have sometimes gone overboard, disagreeing with me and doing it in a personal way. And I never used my authority to get back at them. I respected them, and I said, by the way, please understand this. And I said it in these words: I'm not in the shit business. I don't give it, and I don't take it. So please understand that. I'll always respect you, but I expect the same back. And I never mince words when it comes to that. Not in the shit business. Don't give it, don't take it. I don't plan to give you any, and I will not take any from you. Know that. So, maintain emotional stability. During chaos, be a safe harbor. My daughter Nancy said to me the other day, "Is that Dad?" I said, "Do you feel PTSD from the time that Althea broke her arm?" And I said, "Yeah, I do sometimes." My granddaughter had a compound fracture. It was horrible, horrible, horrible. She had a surgery. She fell off a parallel bar and shattered her arm. My daughter was at work. I was at home right after I had retired. My wife was upstairs. I didn't say a thing. I didn't want her to see it. I said, "Come on, Althea." And she says, "Oh, Grandpa, is there ever going to be okay?" I said, "Honey, it's okay." An ambulance would have been ridiculous. I could get her to the hospital faster. I drove her to the hospital. I called my daughter and I said, meet me at the hospital. Althea's going to be okay, but she has a broken arm. And she said, are you sure it's broken? I said, it's broken, honey. You know, bones were sticking out. She said to me, you remained so calm that, by the way, I felt like I was going to faint. I took a deep breath and I thought, I can't let this little girl down. I can't let my wife see this. I can't get my daughter to be overwrought while she's driving to, you know. So when things happen, you have to maintain emotional stability. I retired from Xerox probably a year sooner than I would have, because the division I was head of HR for was having some difficulties and they wanted to do yet another layoff. And I said, I will not lead another layoff because I can't stay emotionally stable while doing that anymore. I've given all I can, and I'm so distraught about this. I was close to retirement, and I thought, I'm not going to put myself through that, but more importantly, I'm not going to have my people see me in a state that they've never seen me in before, because that's not good for them. So I gave him notice. I set up things to do as well as I possibly could do. And I retired a year earlier than they had expected me to. I got a call a month later and they said, you know, we're going to postpone this action and we want you back. And I said, too late. I said, I've disconnected. You know, my soul has been Xerox blue for years, and I have disconnected. I couldn't come back. And it wasn't said in anger. It wasn't said in an arrogant way. It was true. I was done. I was done. So you have to maintain emotional stability no matter what's going on around you, because your people are looking for you to be a safe harbor. And what does it mean to be a safe harbor? A place where people can come to and tell you what they need to tell you and not feel liability, not feel fear, not feel less than. And it doesn't take particular courage to do that. It takes consistent discipline. Leadership is not difficult. Executing good leadership is very hard, because I don't want to get grandiloquent here, but it's a priesthood. It is a priesthood. It is a vocation. It is a moral construct. It is a way of life, and it is who I am as the best person I can be, and nothing less. One of my friends said to me, he said, you know, Brouwer, when you have to for your people, you gargle with nuclear waste and spit it out and go on like nothing happened. I said, even though I know inside you're dying. I said, I hope that's true. I hope that's true. It's never that dramatic. Maybe it is sometimes. I mean, you know, people in law enforcement or the military or paramedics, I mean, for them it is that. For most of us, thank God, we're never tested that way. But maintain emotional stability. Your people expect it, they depend on it, they need it. Be open to new ideas. Listen to new ideas, as Peter Drucker said. Contributions can come from everyone and from anyone. You ever pick up shampoo and wonder where that phrase came from? Rinse, then repeat. The chemical engineers at Procter & Gamble had concentrated shampoo to the point where sales were down because people weren't using enough of it. So that's when conditioner came in, because it was drying people's hair out. And the marketing people were, they didn't want to change the formula because there were aspects of that women with long hair, appreciated how well it was cleaning and so on. So the engineers, the people formulating the shampoo didn't want to back off of that. The marketing people were going crazy. How do we do this without saying it's a bad product, because it's really not a bad product, and they were wringing their hands. And there was a little intern sitting there taking notes, and that was her job for the day. And, no one had asked her a thing until the end. And the manager for North America, the marketing manager, turned to her and said, "Do you have anything to say?" And she said, "Rinse, then repeat." People went. An intern. She had been there 3 weeks. Rinse, then repeat. Guess what happened to sales? Rinse, then repeat. Be open to new ideas. Be open to new ideas. Absolutely. Any thoughts, any comments on that? Right. Right. Yeah. There are two things I did first day of class. Review the syllabus for the class. Give my phone number, my cell phone number. Students still call me, it's the same one you use. And say to people, expect to be called upon. If you have an anxiety condition, if you have a medical condition, if you have something that you cannot stand up in public and speak, bring me a note from your doctor. Otherwise, expect to be called upon. I'm not going to embarrass you. I will give you the opportunity, and if you say, I'll pass, I'll let you pass. I said, but if you do that constantly, and I don't know that you have an anxiety condition or whatever, your grade is not going to be, because 1/4 of the grade is class participation in anything I ever taught. Because the only way you overlearn, and I teach people to overlearn, is through repetition, through coming up with responses, to defending your premise. I would throw out a premise that I knew was borderline. And I would say, I want you to defend that. And people would say, no, I can't defend that because, I said, well, come on. I would gently pick a fight. And the students that took me on understood that there was no danger. And I try to say that to people, and I would say to those students, you took the class last year, there's no danger, so make sure you tell people, and they came to believe me. But contributions can come from anywhere, and the way you do it is by asking questions. My suspicion, my take on this is, if this young woman had not been asked, she might have never said rinse and repeat. She may have never uttered the words, and they may have sat in her notebook to this day, because she wasn't invited. You have to invite people to greatness. You have to invite people to greatness. And the only way for people to be great is to participate. There's no other way. They have to participate. So, invite others to excellence. Continuous improvement and excellent conduct are the secret sauce. It is the team. It is Formula VanCougs that's going to build this electric car. It's not some abstraction. You are inviting the team to participate. You're giving people the possibility of this much level of involvement versus this much. but you're pulling them in to contribute at the level that they're at and continue insisting that that level grow. So you invite others to excellence. And by the way, once people get a taste of what they can do, you know, I have always assumed, and it's proven me correct, I was a successful leader, that people want to do well. I don't believe that there are welfare queens that want the check. I think people want to work. I think it's innate in us to want to do well. So I invite people to excellence and sit back and clip the coupons, baby. Because they've made me successful. Why was I a successful leader in corporate America? Because my people were excellent and they worked their asses off for me. I always used to tell people, the classes I'm teaching on leadership are not hard or somebody else would be teaching them. But I have made every possible mistake a leader can make. And hopefully not more than once. And correct them. And that's critical. Continuous improvement and excellent conduct are the secret sauce. Disclose feelings. I am not talking about running around having the screaming memes. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in a calm and supportive way, show your feelings. Celebration, concern, curiosity. Saying to this person, I'm disappointed in this outcome, but not judging them. People know you're human. If you disclose who you are in terms of your leadership and in supportive ways, show celebration. I am so happy. Blocking on the name of the company now, but one of the Fortune 500 companies, the award is called the Golden Banana. There was an analyst going through a situation on the books that was vexing everybody. There was a concern, and she found it. And she ran out. Everybody had gone home. The manager was still there, and she says, I got it, I got it, I got it. And he was desperate to reward her, and he looked through and he found a banana from lunch he hadn't eaten. And he gave it to her and said, thank you, thank you. So the biggest award you could get, and hopefully my adult mind will serve me and the company will come to mind. The biggest award you could get in that company it was called the Golden Banana. And it came with a big chunk of cash, but it was a golden banana that you put on your desk, because that moment was captured. And that manager disclosed his feelings. I'm desperate to reward you. All I have is a banana. But she understood he was pleased. You know, he's just desperately looking for, what do I reward you with? The golden banana. Okay? It's a Pacific Northwest company. I can't think of it. Oh God, being old sucks. Anyway, so disclose your feelings, celebration, concern, curiosity. More than anything, just interact. Interact with your people. The Japanese call it going to Gemba. Go to the place where people are working and walk around. Don't be disruptive. Don't create a safety issue, but go ask questions. How did it feel to do that well differently? How did that go this time? You know, that kind of stuff. So create a common vision through participation. All involved have a say on who we are as a business. Dreams are created as a tribe. This is an exercise that every leader should do. Sit down with the people and say, who are we as a business? Describe the business. Tell me in a sentence or a paragraph what we do. Tell me in a sentence or paragraph what it is that we do for a living. Kathy Cronin was my boss at Xerox when I was the North American Solutions Manager for Health Services. We got together, off-site, feed them, they will think. Great food, great surroundings. And she wrote on there, we have 2 days, and I want to devote the next 2 days to creating a paragraph that describes our business. And we worked, and we came up with all kinds of things, and we brainstormed for hours at a time, and we threw lots of things away. We kept some, we went back. We kept all kinds of notes. And in the end, we came up with, we create document solutions and software that allow caregivers to save lives. That's it. Pretty simple. Who the hell wouldn't want to show up for work with that mission? We're creating communications for nurses and doctors that may be tens of thousands of miles away and know this particular disease. They can communicate with that software almost instantly. It builds, there's a record now. We build solutions and software that allow caregivers to save lives. By the way, it's still the mission. I've been out of Xerox Healthcare now for 15 years. It's still there. I mean, I call the place now and they go, who? You know, I used to run the place, but if I call now, nobody's there. So who's calling? I have to say the name, you know? But the mission is still the same. And the people carrying it out are as fervent and given to wanting to do it every day. And when I worked there, you know what? I love Fridays because I was spent, but I also love Mondays because I couldn't wait to get back at it. And if you don't love Fridays and if you don't love Mondays, something is wrong with your work life. And by the way, work balance is bullshit. Okay, is a myth. I don't believe in it. I care about a life of meaning, both at home and at work. But I don't believe that it's possible to balance balance to what aim? Lack of stress? No, bring it on. I want to live it. I want to live on the edge. But there are tricks. There are tricks. I have 2 imaginary trees. One is still there, sits at the bottom of it. When you go up, there's a huge oak next to where it says Washington, you know, yeah, right here, you know. And any problems I had at home, if I'm going to go up and lecture right in this very room where I taught a lot of classes, I would just hang the problems from home on a branch of that oak. And I'd pick them up on the way down the hill. They didn't come up the hill with me. In front of my house, there's a huge oak tree too. And any wazoo problems hang there. They don't walk inside the door because my wife deserves that. So create a common vision through participation. Don't look for balance, look for energy for you and for your people. That doesn't mean abuse your people with, you know, I don't call people on weekends, this has to be done, you know. If it has to be done and I didn't delegate it, it's on me, not them. Okay? So connect with everyone, walk around, talk to all, and don't have favorites. I don't care how good an employee is. Praise them, reward them, but don't treat them differently in ways that matter. There's a concept in industrial psychology about distributive justice and institutional justice and so on. And people are looking for it all the time. Are you distributing resources fairly? Are you making decisions in factual ways? Are you treating Steven Selleck different than you're treating somebody else because he's a favorite? That's institutional justice. Is this university fair in how it treats its students and how it treats its faculty? It's important to connect with everyone, walk around, listen to people, don't have favorites. Be there, go to Gemba, as the Japanese say. Go to where your people are working. Be present. It's important for them to see you. You are on. When you're a leader, you're on, whether you want to be or not. There's no escaping that. You cannot escape that at all. You have a public presence. And by the way, how do you decrease stress in your life? There's a saying, and I don't know who said it, that people have a public life, a private life, and a secret life. To the degree that those three can be pretty darn close together, and to the degree that the best way not to have a secret life is not to do stuff that you wouldn't want to tell your mom. Okay? I don't want a secret life. Okay? I want a good public life, and more importantly, I want a good private life. But the more that you can bring those three into harmony, not through balance of workload and family, but through understanding who you are as a human being, the better off you'll be. Okay. We said that one of the things we were going to talk about today was self-care. And these are 5 things I do daily to take care of myself. And I think the important thing here is every leader needs to develop similar routines for self-care. What are yours? Okay. Mine are, I rise at 5 a.m. I grew up in a dairy farm. I don't milk cows anymore, but I still wake up at 5 a.m. and it's one of the best things I learned on the dairy farm. I walk my dog for 2 miles each morning. I do resistance training for 30 minutes each morning. I consult my mission statement, which I talked about, to guide my day. Harmony at home, excellence at work, service to others. It's in front of me. It's the first thing that comes up in my computer every morning. I don't work anymore, but today it came up. And I said, what am I going to do for this thing that the Formula VanCougs invited me to do? That's my work today. Okay, even though I don't get paid for it. So what do I do? How do I prepare? What do I offer? And I have been doing that for the past week as I communicated with you with this in mind. And how do I do the job that I need to do? Harmony at home is, okay, whose birthday is it? Are any of my kids needing advice on something that's happening in their home or to one of their children? Or what do I, what is it that that person that loves me needs from me today? I don't miss anniversaries and birthdays because I check that every day. Who needs me today? Who's relying on me for something? Service to others. I volunteer. I go to a local university and I volunteer with kids that are Hispanics that haven't gotten the same opportunity that other students in that university have gotten, because those are my people and it's my time. I don't get paid for it as volunteer, so I give it to my people. And we talk about, I think that, I'm going to try to change majors and I'm upset because I don't seem to know what I want to. I said, wait, I'm 75. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do when I grow up. Students change their major on average 5 times. Who cares? What's your performance at school? Go experiment, change your major again. Don't hesitate. Some people are lucky enough. My daughter Heather has known since she was 3 years old she wanted to be a teacher. Guess what? She's a teacher. She's the best teacher in her district. Very few people, including her father, know what the hell they want to do until they get to be old. I still don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out before I park the car. Maybe I won't. But I'm having fun. So harmony at home, excellence at work, service to others. Figure out yours. It doesn't have to be a paragraph. It can be a sentence. And every day I say the words, I love you, to my family and friends, because I don't know if I'm going to have a chance tomorrow. And I want them to know I want them to know. And again, every leader needs to develop similar routines to take care of themselves. You cannot give if you're empty. You cannot give if you're run down. Exercise, rest, eat well, don't drink too much, don't do drugs, get enough sleep, basic stuff, basic stuff. Do I succeed at my mission statement every day? No. Do I try every day? Yes. Why do I try every day? Because I have a routine that says when my computer opens, Brouwer, this is your life today. Are you going to have a good day or are you going to waste your day? And I sure have a lot less tomorrows than I have yesterday. I don't want to waste any of them because I don't know how many I have. So I want to make them count. So anyway, I want to thank Stephen, and I want to thank Formula VanCougs for having me on campus today. I love this place. It's the best campus around, and I'm delighted to have been with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.